So good day, everyone. For today's topic, we have the continuation of the report regarding the intellectual revolutions that define the society to be discussed by us, Group 1 presenters, Princess Heart de la Cruz and Charidin Malyari and Winston Manalo. So without further ado, let us start with the discussion of the next slide. So information advancement. Um, Di ba as of these days that halos ng mga tao is techie na or parang updated na sila with the kind of technology na ginagamit sa pang-araw-araw kasi yung mga matatanda and bata may TikTok accounts na ganun and Facebook. And yung parang changes na to is brought by the IT or information technology kasi yung pagsispread ng info or informations transmission ng information is mas easier na than the old times. And yung due to these changes, yung mga some segments of human community, particularly sa business, government, and society itself is nag-change na din. So yung mga changes na to brought by the advancement of and development sa information technology are collectively known as information revolution. So ano nga ba yung information revolution? Information revolution is known to be the present intellectual revolution na nagra-run sa society or human community up to this date. According to Peter Drucker, it all started way back in Mesopotamia region, 5,000 or 6,000 years ago kasi doon na-invent yung parang first na ano ng information since doon na-invent yung writing with the use of symbols na kapag transmit yung mga tao noon ng mga information. And somehow over the time medyo nag-a-advance siguro yung ng paunti-unti yung technology since yung mga tao is parang natututo ng magsulat, ganun, mag-transmit ng information until parang nag-invent sila ng books or scrolls sa ano naman, sa China, back in 1300 BC, which was the second chapter of information revolution. And the third one was the invention of Gutenberg's printing press. Yung printing press ni Gutenberg and movable type noong 1450s. And from then on, nag-evolve na yung parang inventions na nakakatulong sa pag-transmit ang information. And up to this date, madami pa ding changes sa buhay ng tao due to IT advancements pati sa technology. So, new technologies drive information revolution. This statement is indeed true. And the three most important key terms na kailangan natin maintindihan is yung products, services, and technology. Since yung mga terms na to is yung pinaka-interconnected with the development of IT. So, ano nga ba yung product? Yung product is one or more, di ba, product can involve one or more technology sa sa production ng isang tangible product like cellular phone, laptops, and PC, ganon. And di ba pag gusto nating i-upgrade yung isang bagay, kailangan nating gumamit ng madaming technology para mas gumanda yung quality niya. That's why yung product is kasabay siya ng development sa development ng IT or ng technology. Sa services naman, ito yung mga parang capabilities na ino-offer sa users to run the hardware or application program ng tangible products ng PC or ng laptops or ng phone. Halimbawa na lang dito is yung mga parang system software or operating system na Microsoft or Android, ganun. And next slide is yung meaning ng technology. Kasi ito na lang yung lagay ko sa slide since ito yung pinaka important na term. So, it is the study and knowledge of practical, especially industrial use of scientific discoveries. And somehow it is viewed like an idea or intellectual property based sa scientific principles that allow the creation of a product that embodies it. Meaning, ito yung ginagamit ng modern people in creating inventions or products that helps to improve the quality of life. And some examples of technology aspects is yung parang mga wireless um, communication standards and protocols like LAN or local area network na nagsispecify ng range ng area na nasasakupan ng isang network. And protocols such as Wi-Fi or Bluetooth na talaga nakakatulong sa everyday life natin. So for the next decades, we can expect parang more advanced features of technology and communication and continued convergence sa voice and data communication, major leaps sa available bandwidth and as well as machine translations um, developments are expected. Kasi habang nagde-develop yung technology, yung mga bagay na yan is magde-develop din siya. So sa product naman, ano yung developments na ma-expect natin? So first, tremendous increase sa sensors or devices na capable of wireless communications. Diba as of now, yung mga phones is super parang high-end na nila or um, parang advanced na yung features nila. And because of the developments of these products mula ng old times, yung phone is nagawa nilang wireless. You can call someone from across the globe with just a simple tap lang ngayon, di ba? And since nagawa na to in the modern phones ngayon, we can expect tremendous amount of devices pa na mapoproduce in the coming years to provide new modes of wireless communications na magpapadali ng transmission of information. Next naman is vastly increased connection between physical and virtual world. So, di ba si Mark Zuckerberg, yung creator ng Facebook, is may nilaunch siyang bagong name nito, which is yung Meta. Meta means beyond. And sa mga in-offer niya na service is yung Metaverse, which engages user to a 3D virtual world na mainly nagpo-focus siya sa social interactions. And it is facilitated by the use of virtual and augmented reality. Meaning, nagpo-promote siya ng interactive experience sa users, parang may virtual na reality na world doon. And if sa next decades, mas nag-improve pa yung development sa IT or sa sa technology, yung features ng virtual reality world na kagaya ng services na to is parang mas maaasahan mong magiging makatotohanan siya and mapapadali yung transmission ng information since yung mga users is may active interaction siya dun sa world na yun. So next naman is yung computing and information systems will become more complicated. So kakambal ng changes is yung complication since kapag yung isang bagay is nagbago siya, dapat yung structure ng bagay na yun is maintindihan siya ng user pati nung service provider. Kasi kung hindi, yung product na yun or yung parang software na yun is hindi siya mararan ng maayos. And as of now, maraming mga bagay na yung nag-change into technology-based products like appliances, phones, and marami pang iba. And with the continuous convergence with these devices, mas magiging complicated yung pagko-compute and paggawa ng protocols and systems na mag-aid sa mga developments na to. So lastly, we can expect to have massive and dramatic changes to the display products like yung mga electronic display, pwede na silang mag-contain ng wireless links na connected sa mga personal or other information systems. And yan yung mga expectation natin sa products, sa mga product developments kapag mas nag-change pa yung technology natin into more advanced ones. So sa services naman, meron lang naman isang expectation sa development sa services. Ito yung easy access on various information services or information services nga. Ilan sa mga useful areas ng services is yung entertainment, healthcare, and education. With the continuous growth of accessible and technology-based services, mas mapapadali yung pag-avail ng services ng mga tao since less hassle kapag online. Hindi mo na kailangan lumabas or umalis pa ng bahay. Like yung health check-up, pwede na siyang maging telemedicine using online platforms to provide healthcare services. And as of now, di ba, sa education, we are adapting to new mode of learning which is yung online class nga. And ayun nga, so sa next decades, yung mga services na to is ma-improve pa and can promote easier access for people to access the information services and yung mga online payments mas madali na din. Although madaming expectation sa parang progress ng technology natin, still ang magpe-predict pa din kung anong mga products and services yung parang maglalast sa market maglalast sa mga ng tao is yung market. Kung ano yung parang papatok sa mga tao. Market yung mag-decide dyan since doon nagsisimula yung production ng services and products na to. So, next slide naman, go tayo sa dilemmas and yung mga dilemmas na nag-a-arise from this development. So, first, we have the optical communication technology and internet protocol or IP-based telephone systems are likely to be highly disruptive for parang existing telecommunication industries around the world. So, pwedeng maka-apekto sa percentage ng customers na mag-a-avail ng old telecommunication products and services. Kasi if nag-develop pa yung IP-based telephone systems or yung mga communications technology, pwedeng malaos yung mga parang existing na telecommunication companies na nagpo-provide ng services. And next is open source against closed source. Proprietary standard battles will continue to exist. So, although may mga advances sa technology, yung mga battles between software source, sa open and closed source is magko-continue pa din yan kasi may mga open source na free yung user na i-modify, i-change, or i-share yung software na yun to anyone at any purpose. And yung closed source naman is merong inaalis yung parang copyright holder na license para hindi ma-share yung software na yun and hindi siya ma-modify. And I think ang tawag dito, magkakatalo lang sila sa mga parang gagamit ng service nila. And lastly, yung intellectual property and digital right issues will create major problems. Kasi yung intellectual properties kasi parang very important siya dun sa may gawa or dun sa inventor ng isang product or ng isang service. Since yung parang intellectual property is pwede yung pagkakitaan. So, maraming pwedeng paraan na mag-leak yung information about a certain product na hindi pa nade-develop and may maunang inventor na hindi naman siya yung original na may idea na mag-launch dun sa product na yon. And pwede itong makagawa ng parang maraming problema kasi may magkakatalo sa claiming of rights ng invention or work na yon since nakaw nga yung idea. So, punta naman tayo sa impact of information technology sa different segments ng human community. So, may tatlo tayo dito. It transforms the business and financial worlds, and it affects the governance and empowering new political actors. And lastly, it is also shaped by social and cultural factors or values. So, yan. Under this, parang may mga explanation bakit nasabing may effect yung development ng IT skills sa mga segment ng community. So it transforms business and financial worlds. IT-driven changes kasi sa finance and business world is 'di ba yung mga ano ngayon, mga nagbi-business is parang technology based na yung business nila and paraan ng economy ngayon. And this business structure are parang on the rise of running internal organizations, business functions sa mga enterprises. And saka super napadali ng IT yung external interactions ng business owners sa suppliers, customers, pati na rin dun sa competitors na nagpo-promote ng parang development din sa products and services na napo-provide nila. Next naman is yung IT-based business kasi is interconnected yung mga yan sa business. Parang geographical clusters. Yung mga clusters na to is mostly nasa bandang Europe, North America, and some parts of Asia Pacific region. And they are interconnected in terms of parang business, suppliers, and mga association nila into institutions sa particular fields. And nag-aim ng mga clusters na to improve and increase the production ng products for the companies to be ready sa pag-undertake ng business world. Hindi lang sa national, but ito parang globally, ganun. Through the use of IT, mas napadali yung transmission or palitan nila ng information about the production. That is why IT has a huge effect on these clusters. Next naman is, third one is the improvement sa creative destruction. Through IT-based intelligence, yung pagpapalit ng mga old products to new one without any constraint is mas madali na. And nagpo-promote to ng industrial mutation since nag-i-increase yung sales ng companies. And lastly, yung demand for information, work and workers is nag-i-increase na din. Kasi halos nga IT-based na yung economy ngayon. So, yung mga bansa, kailangan nila ng IT workers and information work para mag-undergo sila completely to the parang better transformation or shifting of their economic growth. Next naman is its effect to the government or governance and empowering new political actors. So, di ba kailangan pag technology, yung technology sa isang community is more advanced na, dapat sumabay din dito yung mode of governance since if traditional pa din yung ginagamit nila sa pagsasaayos ng community, especially sa transmission of information, magkakaroon ng conflict yan. Since hindi lahat ng problems is nare-resolve ng parang laws and beyond the limits na ng legal segments, yung problems sa society sa information dissemination. That's why government system finds new ways and mechanisms sa issues ng information na nag-enable sila ng bagong structure of governance which nagpo-fall sila sa under the heading of e-government or electronic government. Ito yung parang application ng information technology, information communications and technology or ICTs, functions and procedures sa government na nag-iin ng increase ng efficiency, transparency, and citizen participation. And lastly, yung pag-empower ng political actors. They're being empowered by the information revolution since yung parang e-based mode of interactions is pwede na sa mga elected representatives, politicians, and saka ng mga voters or constituents nila. So next naman is yung the shape and is also shaped by yung IT kasi parang yung information revolution natin is primarily enabled by social and cultural factors which are non-technical factors, di ba? Magta-transform lang kasi yung isang social and cultural factors ng isang nation if yung mga organization or yung mga citizens doon is ready na to fully use the capabilities of IT. But then, kaya nga vice versa yung statement, it does both shape, and it is also shaped by the factors, yung social and cultural factors. So, need ng mga tao na i-mold muna or fit in muna yung type ng information technology sa society nila para hindi magkaroon ng conflict, parang ganon, sa effect ng IT-driven changes sa human community. Kunwari, if pag mabagal mag-adapt sa changes yung isang community na nagsi-shift into information age, dapat basic technologies muna yung i-apply dito para magkaroon sila ng step-by-step improvement. Kasi dapat yung hindi yung mabagal na nga yung parang pag-a-adapt ng changes ng community na yon, bibiglayin pa yung mga members sa pag-advance ng technology na ipopromote. And yung digital divides within and among nation will still persist. Pero yung parang scope, duration, at saka significance nila to the society is subjected pa rin to debates. And yung next naman natin is yung impact ng IT sa pag-acquire ng and use ng subsequent knowledge is critical sa time ng information revolution, since magiging nature of work natin in the near future is knowledge work na, hindi na siya based on skills. Pero yung key lang naman sa parang long-term na nito is yung quality and accessible education for all, not only nationally but globally. And lastly, social and cultural multi-balance effects of IT changes will still parang exist. Sabi ko nga kanina, once na may isang bagay na nag-change, required yung ibang bagay na may significance doon na magbago din para makasabay sila sa changes. So if IT changes some segments of the community, it will also change the parang social values of people, social and cultural values of people. And for the last slide, we have the factors that shape and characterize nations' approach to the information age. And we have the positioning of positioning of rich nations over the poor nations to exploit information revolution. So mas okay yung mga rich nations na pag-exploit muna ng information revolution sa poor nations para ma-instruct nila yung mga parang nalileft behind the nation on how to start adjusting on this particular age of revolution. So second is next factor is how the society deals with change. It is very important factor kasi parang madedetermine natin dito gaano kabilis mag-adapt ng changes yung isang particular na community or society, and kung kaya nila mag-deal with these changes, particularly sa advancement ng technology. And third, we have the government can be helpful and unhelpful, since diverse yung pamamalakad ng different governments sa iba't ibang bansa. Pwedeng makatulong yung government nila sa pag-adjust ng parang nation nila into information age. Pero, di ba marami pa ding government yung nagsistick sa parang traditional instruments of governance. So, may tendency na hindi sila makatulong sa pag-a-adjust ng mga tao or ng nation nila sa information age. And if advanced naman yung technology ng isang government is mas efficient and mas helpful yung government na makatulong sa nation nila to adjust to the information revolution. And lastly, sa structures ng capital markets, ito yung isa sa pinaka-importanting factor, since yung mga technological products and services sa nations are parang napoproduce sa markets. And importante din na advancing technology structures ng mga markets na to sa bansa para mapabilis yung information ng transformation ng society into advanced one. So that's all for my part, and the next part will be reported by Ms. Cherilyn Malyari.
Good day, everyone. I am Charlene Pagliari, and for the continuation of what Princess Heart have reported, so I am here to do the honor. So, our topic is about the intellectual revolution that defined society. So, for my first part, we have the factors add richness to the description of a nation's status and serve as a risk of tracking its performance. So let's have the first one, the degree and nature of IT penetration into society and the distribution of its IT activity across the technology, product, and service divide are useful descriptors of a nation's status. So makikita natin sa yung katayuan ng isang bansa based sa information technology status nito. Kung sobrang advanced yung technology nila, I guess ganun din ka-unlad yung isang bansa. Next, the amount of information work and workers and e-commerce in a nation also serves as an important descriptor. So, it tackles about, di ba, yung topic na to, it tackles about the nation status. So, for example, sa China, and China have a big population. But mostly sa mga tao doon is walang trabaho. So wala silang naaambag, yung government nila walang nakukuha mula sa kanila kasi nga they don't have work. So naisip ng mga ng China is magtayo ng mga factories na kung saan makakapagtrabaho or mabibigyan ng trabaho yung mga tao nito and at the same time makakatulong din sila sa bansa nila. So yun, parang sobrang laki ng presence ng mga workers, ng mga e-commerce, ng mga consumers sa isang bansa. Kaya din nagiging isang factor siya sa pag-angat ng isang nasyon. Next, the presence and number of IT business clusters in a nation are important measures of the vigor of a nation's stature. So, um, So now, in today's generation or in this new normal setup, sobrang in demand ng paggamit ng technology, ng information technology. So, kaya naging isa din siya sa parang factor para sa nation's status, di ba? So, yung mga IT businesses, ganun, kasi nga, di ba, this new normal, parang um, sobrang dami ng mga nagtayuan ng mga businesses na connected or na they are using technology, lalo na sa mga online deliveries, online shopping, ganun. So, kaya um, naging important measure siya of the vigor of a nation's station. Next, we have the amount of creative destruction going on in a nation can be another important measure of the nation state. And the presence of new political actors and changes in governance are measures or IR, the intellectual revolution, change in the political arena. So, like for example, here in the Philippines, we are aware na there are politicians na hindi ganon kalinas yung intentions nila sa bansa natin. But in this coming election, parang we are open na, parang we are, our eyes were open and parang sobrang, ano na natin, gahaman na natin na magkaroon ng malinis na governance. So, I guess yung mga next na pipiliin nating mga leaders are the one who will help us or who will help our nation to go in a higher level, ganun. Parang magiging yung mga ibang political actors, ganun. And also, yung mga ibang political actors is parang hindi ganun nga malinis yung mga track record nila, ganun, and there are corrupt politicians. So, yung mga corrupt na yon parang sobrang um, laki ng epekto nila sa governance ng isang bansa. Or yung sobrang laki ng epekto nila sa pag-develop ng isang bansa or sa pag-unlad ng isang bansa. So next, the movement of talented IT-trained people can be a useful indicator of a nation's status. So yun nga, dahil sa new normal setup ngayon, sobrang used or sobrang gamit na gamit yung technology natin. So, kapag sa technology, hindi natin hahayaan na yung mga people or yung mga tao is or yung pipiliin nating tao or for example sa business natin, hindi naman natin hahayaan na i-hire natin yung isang tao na hindi ganun ka well trained, hindi ganun ka skilled sa gagawin niyang trabaho. So yung mga IT trained people na to is so dapat kailangan they are well skilled, they are well trained before mo sila ipasok sa business mo. So after that, after those factors, let's now move on with some of the nations na kung paano yung information revolution nila. So let's have here the North America. So North America as the vanguard of the information technology. So here are the informations under the North America. So the North America economies and societies are well positioned to meet the challenges of information technology. And North American countries are nations of immigrants that attract energetic, talented, IT trained people from all over the world. So, next we have also here the advantages in their economic structure. First, the well developed physical frameworks and human resources. Economies and societal conditions, governments that provide an environment that caters to business enterprises, legal regimes with good intellectual property laws, well-established bankruptcy laws, strong protections for freedom of expressions, innovative and efficient capital markets with well-developed venture capital communities. So, yun nga, North American countries are nations of immigrants that attract energetic, talented, IT-trained people from all over the world. So, North America will use these advantages to continue at the forefront of the information growth. So, casual crashers and the telecom implosion may slow the pace of IT-related developments in North America. But that's only temporarily. But furthermore, in addition to that, North America will, in general, deal well with the stresses generated by the information expansion. I guess that would be all for the North America. Today, most Latin American nations are lagging behind in the information growth as they are in the global economy. So regarding the information technology, they can be divided as leaders, as parents, and the rest. And also there are places in Latin America na merong mga bansa na nag-grow, meron din bansa na hindi. So Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, and Uruguay have been um, Latin America's leaders in the information growth in recent years. But Mexico and Chile was the only two continue to do well until today. And wherein Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil have recently suffered financial obstacles that put future economic and IT development in jeopardy. So yun nga, dahil as, I, uh, as I've said a while ago, dahil siguro yung mga bansang Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil na to is hindi ganun kalaki yung bansa nila or hindi ganun kalaki yung capital markets nila, hindi ganun kaganda yung structure ng capital markets nila. Kaya hindi nagde-develop in a higher level yung information technology nila, yung development ng information technology nila. That is why, yun nga, sinasabi na that put future economic and IT development in jeopardy. Next, we have and several of the small island states in the Caribbean are successful outliers. So outliers, these are the ano, ito yung mga tao or yung na nag-detach dun sa main body or sa system ng bansa nila. So, several of the small island states in the Caribbean are successful outliers regarding the information development today. So, these nations have what they call per capita incomes that are among the highest in Latin American states and are much further along in IT penetration and use. So they shared several preconditions. So here are the preconditions. So their governments are founded on trust and transparency. They have a well-established rule of law, high literacy, economic cultures in which business can prosper, populations which are very fluent in English, and most importantly, the political stability of Caribbean. So next, um, going back here, in Central America naman, Costa Rica is another proponent, another IT proponent. So yung Intel established an assembly plant there which had a major effect on Costa Rican employment and development. So, with Intel, Costa Rica has advantages similar in scope to the Caribbean islands. So, even though they are doing well themselves in the information sector because they are small and removed geographically from the mainstream of Latin America, yun nga, parang sinasabi na yung Costa Rica and these Caribbean nations, hindi sila nag-provide ng leadership for the rest of the Latin America. Parang nag-detach nila yung system nila dun sa mismo Latin America, parang nag-solo sila. So there are information growth outliers but not leaders. Kasi meron silang sariling system, nag-detach sila dun sa Latin America. Next. So the rest of the Latin American states lag behind these leaders and successful outliers often way behind. So the situation is particularly not good for the nations on the Andean mountain regions, those torn by internal guerrilla conflicts and for island nations of the Caribbean is, for example, the Haiti. So, hindi naging yung concept na meron yung Costa Rica and the small states in Caribbean, hindi siya ganun ka-successful kasi may mga ibang naapektuhan ng kanilang system which are the nations on the Andean mountain regions. So, Latin America faces many hindrances. Um, many hindrances. So, here are some of the hindrances in exploiting opportunities offered by the information expansion. So first, a government role in the economy that is often more of an impediment than an advantage in many Latin American states. Privileged positions for large, old economy films that often hinder the development of markets by new IT-related firms, shortages of skilled people because of deficiencies in their educational backgrounds, brain drain, loses primarily to the north, a pronounced digital divide, a propensity for frequent financial crisis. So, all in all, the business and social climate in Latin America or yung information technology in their Latin America is much less hospitable to the information development than in North America or Europe or in many parts of Asia. As a result, the gap between these regions and the world's IT leaders is, in the view of most experts, not likely to close. Parang hindi ganun kaganda yung kinalabasan ng sistema ng Latin America compared sa North America, sa Europe, or other parts of Asia. So that would be all for the Latin America. So this would be the last part of my topic. So let's have the Asia Pacific. So many Asia Pacific nations are poised to do well in the information arena. So this is how it goes. So Asia Pacific nations differ greatly on in their development situation. So several are major IT and internet users with internet penetration in South Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan and Australia, exceeding even the US level in early 2000, and Singapore, Taiwan, and New Zealand not far behind. So Asia as a whole, it's about 70 to 80% of total 70 to 80% of total world output in a wide range of important IT materials, components, and products. So Asian IT producers have generally followed the Japan model, which produces progressively sophisticated production of technology, beginning beginning with labor-intensive, low-value manufacturing and proceeding proceeding to higher value-added stages. So South Korean and Taiwanese companies are among the more technologically advanced and diversified after Japan, but they faced many challenges on their road to becoming global IT producers. So, aware tayo na yung Japan, bansa ng Japan, yun yung pinaka may mataas or na level dun sa information technology until today. And siguro pumapangalawa yung South Korea and the Taiwan. So, yun, aware tayo na yung Asia ay ay ang may pinakamataas or well-developed and advanced when it comes to technology or when it comes to information technology. So, at the end of the spectrum, most Southeast Asian IT innovators appear to be stagnating at lower levels on the production ladder. So, next part, we will have here the some countries in Asia Pacific. So, let's recall or pag-usapan natin kung paano na-develop yung kanilang information technology. So here are the major IT producers again on the world stage. So Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, South Korea, Southeast states like Malaysia and the Philippines. So let's have first the Japan. So Japan itself has something of a dual personality regarding the information growth. There is no question that it is one of the world's leaders in the IT today. So, in that, however, in recent years, much has been written about the rigidness that exists in Japan culture, business, and government. If this situation remains, I guess Japan may progressively lag behind many other countries in terms of information development. But on the other hand, yun nga, sinasabi dito na some observers have noted a recent emergence of individualism and entrepreneurship in some sectors of the Japanese IT industry. So, in this initial tendency continues and grows, parang patuloy pa rin yung development niya. It might assure the industry's long-term viability, notwithstanding with societal rigidness. So, in that case, Japan would continue as a world leader in IT. So, siya pa rin yung magiging top. Kasi iba yung system niya, how it developed, diba? So, albeit with a growing share of manufacturing operations moving to Japan-owned manufacturing hubs in China, it remains to be seen which of these forces or societal rigidness or nascent individualism and entrepreneurship in the Japanese IT industry proves to be more powerful. So yun. Um, uh, Japan will still be the number one leader when it comes to information technology. Kasi nga, sobrang advanced na nila doon and sobrang taas din and maganda yung structure capital markets nila where yung pinag-usapan natin kanina yung about sa mga factors. So, yun. Japan would be one of the number one leader when it comes to information technology. So now let's proceed with the next country, which is China. So China is of special relevance as a rapidly emerging IT producer and even leader. So clearly defined clusters of IT industry are already developing there, although IT output is far from being a major chunk of its economy today. Yun. The size and potential of China's domestic market, as well as the nearly limitless availability of expensive labor, are two primary attracting factors for international investors. So, yun nga, yung sinasabi ko kanina na naisip ng China na magtayo siya ng mga maraming factories for it to para mag-benefit din yung tao niya doon. And syempre, para mag-benefit din yung China. So in recent years, China has become the IT manufacturing base of choice for Asian, North American, and even European business companies, a trend which is not only likely to continue but also accelerate now that China has joined the World Trade Organization. So in addition, China is beginning to draw a vast, more advanced IT knowledge base, with some of it coming from expatriate Chinese who have received technical training overseas and are returning home. So yun, parang mas lumalakas yung development when it comes to um, internet, no, information technology sa China. So as a result of this situation, China will continue to advance at later stages of IT industry development and over time became a major IT player not only in Asia but also in the whole world. So, kapag pinagpatuloy ng China yung sistema niya when it comes in developing its information technology, hindi lang siya mag-lead sa Asia, kundi mas mag-lead din siya or magiging top din siya in the whole world. Potentially leapfrogging many states that are far more advanced today but are hampered by the negativity created by legacy considerations. So that would be for China. Next we have the South Korea. South Korea, Taiwan, and the leading IT nations in Southeast Asia achieved their current positions initially by starting a low-cost manufacturing hubs for North American, European, and Chinese electronics and IT companies, and gradually working up the IT value-added chain. So the maturation of this process takes several decades. The advent of China as the preferred low-cost mass market manufacturing destination in Asia has altered the IT playing field on which these other Asian nations must now compete. So, dahil nga dun sa level na meron in China, parang nagkaroon din ng urge yung ibang bansa or yung South Korea, Taiwan nga para makipag-compete dun sa level na meron yung ibang country when it comes to information technology. So, this does not have to be a zero-sum game. So China's IT advantages do not have to be at the expense of other Asian countries. For these other nations to survive as viable and active players in the IT world, they must redefine their business models, carving out value-added niches that can withstand the Chinese juggernaut. So, when it kung gusto ng mga bansang ito na mahigitan yung ibang countries like China, they have to change or redefine or they have to innovate another system or another strategy on how they will um, kung paano nila mahihigitan yung level ng China or ng Japan or other countries when it comes to information technology. Others who have not yet move to the design and high level engineering level in their IT operations may not be able to succeed by keeping design and high level engineering skills at home while outsourcing manufacturing operations to China. So that would be all for South Korea. Lastly, I have here India. So India has three important advantages in the global IT competition. So, an abundant supply of talented IT trained people. So, kailangan natin yan. So, India is nagbubo siya ng mga IT trained people, well skilled. So, isang sobrang malaking impact yun, yung mga people na well trained, yung mga skilled when it comes to information technology. So large numbers of educated, low-cost workers very proficient in the English language. Close ties to the many Indian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. So uh, as a result, it has built IT business clusters, is a world leader in back office services and software outsourcing, and its software output has expanded by a factor of 100 over the last several decades. So the Indian software and back-end office service businesses should continue to flourish and develop, at least for the next few decades. So yun, and kapag pinagpatuloy ng India yung strategy or yung sistema niya, kapag dahil meron din siyang mga competence, di ba? Yung mga important, yung mga advantages nila yun. Parang pwede niyang magamit yun para to continue to flourish and develop yung information technology nila. But however, because of China's rising prominence in this field, expanding beyond software into IT hardware operations may be tough. Parang mahihirapan sila to na mahigitan yung China kahit na gaano kalakas or kahit na may mga advantages sila. Furthermore, kasi 'di ba, kung umaangat yung China and umaangat din yung India, parang wala din, parang patuloy pa rin aangat yung China and patuloy din aangat yung India pero hindi sila magkakalevel. But furthermore, the Indian high-tech industry as a whole is a narrow anomaly at the top of the Indian economy. Much of the country is still in the agricultural era, having not yet joined the industrial or information eras. These elements may have a larger impact in the development of information than previously thought. So there are still countries, there are still um, Indian economy na parang nasa agricultural era pa rin. Parang wala na sila sa modern world. Wala pa sila sa modern world. Nandun pa rin sila sa sinaunang era. Ganun. Kaya nahihirapan din sila na mahigitan yung China. Or nahihirapan din sila na maging advanced when it comes to information technology. So, that would be all for the India. So we have here some places or some countries: the Bhutan, Cambodia, Laos, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and other Central Asian countries are among the Asian countries that are now trailing behind. So these countries have little internet activity and consumption, as well as little or no IT production activity, and they lack one or more fundamental elements needed to succeed in the information age. They are not only behind now, but there is also little work to enhance their future conditions in terms of the information campaign. So itong mga bansang to is sobrang late na sila sa information technology na meron yung ibang bansa ngayon. So sobrang nasa kanila na yung parang pinakamahirap na level, and how will they surpass that level, ganun, para mapunta dun sa advanced and well-developed na information technology. So, that would be all for my part, and um, I will allow Winston Manalo, my group mate, to present to you the other information about our topic, the intellectual revolution that defines society. Thank you.
So, okie dokie. So, for the continuation of our report, no, I am Winston Nicholas B. Manalo, and I am going to continue the report of Miss Charilyn Malyari. So we have the Middle East and North Africa. So, next slide. So few Middle Eastern and North African nations will fully experience the information phenomenon. So with a few notable exceptions like Bahrain, Israel, Kuwait, Qatar, and UAE, IT penetration is below world averages in most Middle Eastern and North African nations, or sometimes will below the minimum. So the pattern of IT diffusions and use in the region is highly irregular, favoring only the wealth and privilege. So meaning yung paglaganap ng or pag oh yun tama paglaganap ng mga information technologies is tanging mga mayayaman lamang or may mga pribilehiyo ang mga nakakagamit ng mga technology na to, no? So this could dramatically increase the economic and social inequalities between the richest and poorest sectors of MENA societies as time goes by. So, yun nga, dahil iilan lang yung mga, or pili lang yung mga nakakagamit ng information technologies na to, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga social inequalities sa pagitan ng mga mayayaman at ng mga mahihirap. So, next. The MENA nations can be categorized into 3 categories. So, we have the fearful nation, driven nation, and both driven and fearful nation. So what is fearful nation? So first, the fearful nations include these nation, which is the Algeria, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. So sila yung mga bansa that have very limited internet connectivity or have prohibited it altogether to ensure that they have avoided any negative consequence of joining the network world because of their irregular government. So, meaning, nakakagamit pa rin sila ng mga information technology pero limited lang yung gamit. Parang mga pili lang kung ano yung mga dapat nilang makita sa mga technologies na yun or mga makalap na information, no? Kasi iniiwasan nila yung magkaroon ng parang bad effect sa kanilang bansa, lalong-lalo na dahil irregular yung kanilang mga governments. So, parang takot silang sumali sa network world or yung mga punong-puno ng or lahat gumagamit ng mga technologies nito. So, next is the both driven and fearful. So, the both driven and fearful nation includes Iran, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia, and United Arab Emirates. So, sino naman sila? So these states have tried to develop a strictly monitored domestic internet network that will enable it to reap bountiful benefits in commerce, academics, and government while keeping a tight watch and maintaining strict limits on what can and cannot be done and what kinds of information are to be made available to the public. So meaning, ang mga bansa naman na ito is gumagamit din sila ng mga information technologies. Kaya lang, yun nga, may limit din sila sa paggamit. No? Kung kaya ni, ito yung mga risk taker, kumbaga. No? So, kung kanina yung mga takot mag-take ng risk, ito naman sila, mga risk taker din sila. Kaya lang, merong mga part na limitado lang kung ano yung mga information na pwede nilang makalap, para maiwasan pa rin nila yung magkaroon ng bad effect sa bansa nila or maka-apekto sa pag-unlad ng kanilang bansa. So next is driven. So ito kabaliktaran naman nito yung fearful. So the rest of MENA nations can be characterized as driven. So yung mga nabanggit ko kanina, hindi na sila driven, of course, syempre. So yung mga hindi nabanggit na kabilang sa MENA nations is sila yung mga driven countries or driven nations. So they want what the information technology offers and they want it badly enough to be willing to risk some problems that may arise from a more open and possibly unacceptable communication system. So yung kanina, kung takot mag-risk, and yung pangalawa is risk taker pero may konting limit or medyo strict. So sila naman, yung mga driven nations, sila naman yung mga high risk taker, kumbaga. So, willing silang gamitin yung information technology na yun kahit ano pang kahihinatnan nun sa bansa nila, no? Eh, okay lang sa kanila basta magamit nila yung mga information technologies na yun. So, other information or additional information, the wealthiest of these countries, including Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, have well-developed information infrastructures. So, yun sabi niya, yung mga countries daw na Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, sila daw yung parang may pinakamayaman or well-developed na mga information infrastructure. So, sila yung parang mga driven, yung mga gamit yung mga information technology. So, while the poorest country, Yemen, has achieved very little. So, mga half of the population of Yemen is sila lang yung mga nakakagamit ng mga information technologies na to. And the mid countries including Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, and Oman have made interesting but limited progress. Yun. So, another information is Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE are likely to fully take advantage of the opportunities offered by the information age. So, yun nga, dahil ang Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and UAE ay isa sa mga mayamang bansa. So, sila daw yung parang mas nauuna or nakakapag-take advantage sa mga opportunities na binibigay ng mga information technologies na ito. So, most of the others will lag behind because of inadequate physical infrastructures and human capital, governmental policies that hinder major developments, including cultural impediments, causing this region to fall even further behind the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development states. So, sabi niya, yung mga ibang countries daw, so karamihan, is parang napag-iiwanan sila sa paggamit ng mga information technologies na to or pag-develop sa kanilang bansa dahil sa mga inadequate physical infrastructures, human capital, and government policies. So, next country naman is the Sub-Saharan Africa. So, most countries of Sub-Sahara will fall further in the information stage. So, there are very extreme disparities present among African nations. As a result, few statements apply universally. So, one of these examples of disparities is this South Africa. So, South Africa has roughly half of the continent's IT infrastructure. Nigeria and the North African region each have about 1/6, and all the rest of African states account for only 1/6 of the IT infrastructures. So, even if we exclude South Africa, there are still dramatic disparities among all these African regions and within the countries of those regions. So, with all those caveats, there are still several measures that can help place Africa in context. So, kahit na medyo parang naghihirap yung Africa, no, kulang sa mga information technology, meron pa rin naman silang gamit upang ma-spread yung mga information sa kanilang bansa. So, first is the mass media. Mass media are now and will remain for the next decades or so at least the predominant information dissemination instrument in Africa. So, gaya nga nasabi ko, mass media pa rin, mass media is isa sa mga ginagamit nila upang ma-spread nila yung mga information sa kanilang bansa. So, for every telephone in Africa, there are 2,500 televisions and 14,000 radios. So, compared with the rest of the world, Africa is very far behind in per capita telephone users. So, regarding internet access, no, So, bukod sa mass media, internet access din ang kanilang ginagamit. So, in 1998, Africa had just 4% of the world's internet host and 0.22% of World Wide Web sites. So, with more than half of these sites being in South Africa, even though it has 12% of the world's entire population, one must also remember how poor Africa is in general. So, kahit pagsamasamahin mo raw yung 15 na tao na pinakamayaman sa buong mundo, is mas mayaman pa rin sila sa isang bansa na Africa. So, gets ba? So, yung 15 na tao daw, pag samasamahin mo sila, mas mayaman pa rin sila sa bansang Africa. So, ganun kahirap yung bansa na Africa. So, kawawa naman. So, Africa's IT problems are not primarily technical. So, hindi lang porke information technology technologies is technical problems na yung mga kinakaharap nila. So, hindi lang yun, no? They involve the following factors of culture, competence, capital, and control. So, bakit nga ba umahadlang yung culture? So, cultural factors such as language, nationalism, stratification, legal structure, vertical authority relationships, trust, and concept of information complicate and hinder the spread and use of information technology in Africa. So, next is the competence. It takes uneducated people to know how to bring IT to those who most need it. Africa is still lacking in this area. So, meaning, kung mga taong may pinag-aralan lang daw, ang kayang ano tawag dito? Kung parang humandle, kumbaga, no? Or gumamit ng mga information technologies nito. Sila lang daw yung may kayang gumamit sa mga technology na ito para ipakalaganap sa kanilang bansa. Gets ba? So, basta, yung mga educated people lang daw ang may kayang gumamit sa mga information technologies nito. Which is wala ang Africa or nagkukulang ang Africa. Di ba nga? Dahil sa mahirap sila, no? Mahirap din yung pag-aaral sa Africa. So, limited lang yung mga marunong gumamit ng mga IT na ito. Kaya, bumabagal yung pag-develop ng mga information technologies nito. So, next is the capital. In many sub-Saharan countries, financial and physical capital are not present. So, yun. Dahil nga mahirap yung bansang Africa, nagkukulang sila sa mga financial support and physical capital. No? So, yun. So, yun sa mga mahadlang kung bakit hindi nag-grow yung kanilang mga kagamitan sa information technology. So, last is the control. The agencies of control in sub-Saharan Africa, states, governments, armed forces, religious groups, and the private sector often hinder IT development. So, yun. Mismong gobyerno na nila and yung mga sundalo or mga armed forces nila ang mga nagiging cause kung bakit hindi nagde-develop yung mga kagamitan sa bansang ito, yung mga information technologies. So, yun. Kaya bumabagal din yung pag-develop sa kanilang bansa. So, I need additional information, no? So, in spite of these hindrances, these are positive indications that the information revolution is moving forward in Africa. So, yun. Kahit marami daw hadlang, kahit papaano is nag-move forward pa rin yung pag-develop ng information revolution or information technologies sa bansa nila. Pero, however, there are two factors that may indirectly impede progress. So yung kanina directly nakakasagabal sa pag-grow ng mga information technology sa bansang ito. Itong dalawa naman na ito is parang hadlang sila pero hindi sila parang hindi naman sa hindi napapansin. Kumbaga parang okay, problema sila pero kaya naman solusyonan. basta yun, parang hadlang pa rin sila pero hindi nila parang pinaka-problema yun. No? So, which is the HIV or AIDS post 9/11 era. So, the HIV/AIDS epidemic in Africa has become the biggest threat to the continent's development. So, dahil sa paglaganap ng HIV na yon or AIDS, nahihirapang mag-develop yung kanilang country. So, in the post 9/11 era, much of the world's aid attention and resources will be focused elsewhere. So, for all this reason, it is likely that information technology improvements will continue in Africa, but the region will continue to lag further behind from the rest of the world during the next several decades. So, yun nga, kahit papaano naman is umuunlad or nag improve yung mga information technologies sa bansang Africa. Kaya lang, no, dahil mahirap nga yung bansang Africa, after mga several decades is parang nasa pinakahuli pa rin sila, no? Parang outdated pa rin yung mga kagamitan nila. So, yun. Pero at least kahit papaano, di ba? Nag-improve naman na kahit papaano. So, ayun lang. Before I end this video, na-introduce ko ba yung sarili kanina? So, my name is Winston Nichols B. Manalo nga po pala. And from BSCE1G and I am from Group 1. And so before I end this video, so let us pray po. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. So dear Lord, we praise and glorify you for your loving care and for giving us grace and wisdom. Bless us to enjoy this wonderful day and make us live harmoniously with everyone. May love and peace lead us so that we can be good citizens of tomorrow. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, yun lang sir. So, ito nga po pala yung mga references lang pala. So, yun lang po. Maraming salamat sa panonood. I hope may natutunan po kayo sa amin. And good luck. Bye-bye.